Section 10.2, Day 2. Your class opener. Draw a segment and bisect it. Right. Draw the following shape using the measurements given. So let's see, they want us to draw a parallelogram with side lengths A and B with an angle of X. So to start, I'm going to give myself a generic segment down here. And this is going to start by being the bottom of my parallelogram. And I'm going to pick segment A to be the dimension for the bottom of my parallelogram. So the first thing I need to do is open my compass up to measure the length of segment A, transfer that down to where my parallelogram is going to be. Okay. So I now know that the bottom of the parallelogram is A. The next thing I need to do is copy angle X for the lower left corner. And I know to copy an angle, the first thing I do is I swing an arc across the angle I'm trying to copy. So I'm going to transfer that over here. And the next thing I need to do is I need to measure how big is the opening to this angle. So I open up my compass to find where did the arc intersect the sides of the angle. And as close as I can get, looks like it's right there. So now I know for my parallelogram, I know what the bottom looks like. I know the angle coming up for the side over here. And now I just like to measure this side should have a length of B. So let's measure how long is segment B. All right, and it looks like that's the length for segment B. So let's come and transfer that over here. Oops. Let me undo to go back to the right length. So I now have at least two sides of my parallelogram. I have A on the bottom and B up the side. Well, now I need the other two sides. So I'm going to use the fact that I know in a parallelogram, opposite sides are equal in length. So I'm just going to copy how long is the bottom of my parallelogram, which looks like I have that size. And I know that the top of my parallelogram is equal in length. I know that the dimension for the left side of my parallelogram is going to be the same as the dimension for the right side. So I should be able to come over here and copy the length for the right side. And I now know where the upper right corner of my parallelogram is. And I have a parallelogram with angle X and side lengths A and B. Draw the following shape using the measurements given. So it's still segment A and B and angle X. It says a square with a perimeter of 8B. Well, the one thing I sort of notice is if the perimeter of a square is 8B and I divide it by 4, I can get that the side length of each side of the square is going to be 2B. Okay. The other property I know for a square is I should have 4 right angles. So I'm going to start by drawing the bottom of my square. And I know that this bottom dimension is going to have to be 2B. So I'm going to start by marking off a segment that is 2B for the length. So I'm going to come up here, measure out how big B is. Right? And if I transfer that down, here's going to be 1B, and do it again, and here's going to be 2B. So my bottom length now I have set. So this piece right here I know is 2B. The next thing I know is that the corners of a square are right angles. So I would like to make a right angle at one of the corners. I'm just going to pick right here. I'd like to create a 90-degree angle. So how can I create a 90-degree angle? Well, from that point I'll put my compass and I will mark off a distance to the left and to the right of there. So open your compass up to whatever dimensions you would like. Make a mark on the right side, make a mark on the left side. And then from those two new points, I open up my compass so it's at least more than halfway, and I will make a mark above, and I'll make a mark below without adjusting the size of the compass. I'll make the same size marks from here. So now by connecting these two together, I should have a segment that is perpendicular to the original one. And now I just need to measure up a dimension of 2b. Well, the nice thing is I already have 2b measured for the bottom of my square. So instead of measuring the b's individually, I'm just going to open my compass all the way up to a measurement of 2b. So now that I have that marked to 2b, I'm going to take my compass, and going up this side, I know that my square should go this high. So I'm going to have to extend that line up a little bit because I didn't have it quite long enough. Well, I know the square is a parallelogram, and all the squares, sides of a square are also 2b, so I can really mark from this side over here as well that the height of this side should be somewhere coming up here, 2b. I also know that across the top should have a dimension of 2b. So right up here should be the upper left hand corner of my square. And then let's just fill in with the pieces. And now I have a square where all the side lengths are 2b, which would give me a perimeter of 8b. Draw the following shape using the measurements given. So we're trying to draw a rhombus with diagonals of length a and b. And I know one of the properties for a rhombus is that the diagonals bisect each other and that they're also perpendicular to each other. So I'm going to start by copying the diagonal A. So I'm going to take my compass, and I'm going to measure out the length for segment A and copy that down here. Now, I know that the diagonal B is going to bisect and also be perpendicular. So to do that, I'm going to take my compass, open it up to more than halfway, and now I want to bisect this segment. So I'm going to swing an arc above and below, and then do the same thing from the other side over here. And it looks like I didn't quite draw that first segment long enough. So let me come back over here and extend it a little bit more. All right. So. Now I have diagonal A bisected, and I have a segment that's perpendicular. So now I know that segment B, half of it should be above and half of it should be below. So I really need to figure out how big is half of segment B. So I'm going to come up to segment B and bisect it. So now if I connect together the intersection points, I can use my compass to measure how big half of B is. And it looks like right there is half of B. So I know that half of B is above and half of B is below. So now I have diagonals A and B. They're both perpendicular, they both got bisected. So if I connect together the ends, I should have my rhombus. So here's a rhombus with one diagonal length A, the other diagonal length B. And your closure. Explain how to construct a perpendicular bisector.